All right, folks, welcome back. Yet another episode of the Bibbs Corner podcast. I am your host, as always, Mike Bibbins at Bibbs Film on Twitter for the movie stuff. This is episode 29, the second of two I'm recording the day of my birthday here. Obviously releasing the next day, but it was an interesting week. I don't even want to say interesting. It was a difficult week. If you're listening to this, there's almost no way you have not heard about the sudden, for most people, I guess, sudden passing of Chadwick Boseman. That was definitely a tough blow. I think I had taken a nap and I woke up. I decided to watch a movie. I was watching the movie and I wasn't, on my phone or anything like that. I think my phone started blowing up with texts, and it was my mom and sister having a conversation. I think my mom shared an article or something like that, and they were talking about Chadwick Boseman passing, and it didn't feel real that they were talking about it. So then I opened Twitter, and of course, everybody is reacting, and none of us knew that he was ill. Obviously we saw the video of him earlier in the year. It actually makes it even more sad when you think about it in hindsight, where he posted the video for Jackie Robinson Day or something along those lines, or a charity or whatever the case may have been, and he was looking very thin, and people were making jokes and comments and asking questions about he looked sick, like what's going on type of thing. But I don't know if anybody really took it seriously at the time. I believe he simply took down the video at one point, and then I think after that he disabled comments on his Instagram. And I don't know if we saw him again in the public eye after that. That was in like April. But after that, it kind of faded after a while from the public view, and we didn't really talk about it. And then, of course, this happens. It hit hard. It hurt. It was almost another Kobe. Person in their 40s, you don't expect to be getting that type of news. I think the Kobe one hit me just a tad bit harder when you consider how many other people, went with them, and the fact that we had just gotten really introduced to Gianna, and everybody was rooting for her type of thing, and then just to lose them so abruptly was crazy. And then with Chadwick, it was because of what he was, what he stood for, what he was to us, and Black Panther, top 10 at least. I can't remember where they ended up. One of the highest grossing movies of all time. The first movie with a budget like it had, with a cast that was almost entirely black. It was a fictional African country, but we all felt like we were from Wakanda when that movie came out. We all went multiple times. We dressed up, showed out, made Chadwick and the cast do the Wakanda salute over and over. And it was an event, and this is on top of him going out and doing, we first were really introduced to him on a major level with his role as Jackie Robinson in 42, and then James Brown, and he did Black Panther, and then he did Thurgood Marshall. Like, he was telling important stories. They announced, I believe, I don't know if it was earlier this year or last year, they announced that he was going to be doing Yasuki, which is a true story about a black samurai. It felt like he had already started doing it, and that's the thing. Like, he was diagnosed, apparently, in 2016. He had gotten the role of Black Panther in 2014, or it was announced. And, Jackie or 42 came out in 2013. So those all happened. He was already on that trajectory, basically. I feel like a lot of people are saying that he was taking those type of roles because after he got his diagnosis, because he wanted to tell as many important stories as possible. But I think it's just a testament to the man he was, that he was already on that path. I don't know if the diagnosis really changed that trajectory for him. And that's what makes it, I guess, even more tough, because he's just a genuinely great guy. I don't think anybody had a bad story to tell about him. You can tell by when you listen back to interviews and comments that he was hoping to beat this, obviously. He didn't look at it as, I have a timeline, from what I can tell, trying to piece it together. And of course you want to try to make sense of everything. Everybody does, and you want to say you saw this or you saw that. But at the end of the day, he lived his life on his terms, and he went out on his terms. And I think someone said that it's pretty impossible that no one behind the scenes knew about it, because apparently when you do these type of movies he was in, they make you do a physical, and there's no way they would have missed that type of thing. So I think it's great that he was able to, again, live out the rest of his life after his diagnosis without having to answer questions about it in every interview for 4 years, and things like that. So again, tragic passing. He gave us a lot of amazing film in a short period of time, and definitely a legend we're going to be talking about for a long time. Like I said, it was my birthday today, and I basically have like different things that I see when I go on Amazon that I'm going to buy eventually. I'll put it in my cart and then put it as saved for later. And so my sister wanted to buy me some things for my birthday, and I told her, check my save for later and buy some things. And she ended up getting me Avengers Endgame and Infinity War. And I've been collecting the Marvel movies and some other movies, but when she got me those, of course, my first thought was back to Chadwick and his moment in Infinity War when he comes back, and the moment in in Endgame when he comes back, and in Infinity War when he fades away, as being like two of the most impactful moments in those movies. Like, nobody expected Black Panther to be one of the people to go in Infinity War, and then when he comes back and you see his silhouette and his voice, and you see the Wakandan soldiers enter, like that was one of the biggest like reactions from the crowd. It was beautiful, and so then I look over to my DVD case or Blu-ray case, and the movie on top of my Marvel collection currently is Black Panther. And it's gotten somehow easier. It was tough Friday, Saturday, just seeing all the different memorials and things like that. It was hard to look at without, feeling it all over again. But somehow it's gotten easier over the past couple of days, and like I can say that it doesn't necessarily hurt as much anymore as it is just like, wow, that really happened. But again, he accomplished a lot in a short period of time. I'm definitely going to continue to enjoy his work. I have been putting off watching Message from the King. It's been on my Netflix watch list for a long time. Probably check that out. But I didn't want to spend a ton of time on this podcast because I know how I like to ramble, but I definitely wanted to make sure I addressed it. We're gonna miss Chadwick. Again, we just have to enjoy the work that he gave us while he was here, and keep his family in our thoughts and prayers, and friends and everybody that was close to him, because you have to imagine they're feeling this. I don't know. I don't want to speculate about who knew and who didn't. But either way, it's difficult. If I can only imagine. So, I'm going to close this section out, actually. I'm going to do a separate section with, I don't even know, actually. All right, I'm going to break this off, and I'll come back, and I'll give you the quick elevator reviews for the movies I watched this week. This will be like a separate thing. Okay, so getting into the movies for this week. It's a tough transition, but I'm going to try to make it work. I did watch 3 movies this week. King of Staten Island, 1BR, and New Mutants, or The New Mutants, I'm sorry. I actually came into this week with no real plan for movies, and, those are just the 3 that I ended up watching. So, just to before we get into the big reviews, where I get into more detail, The King of Staten Island, if you haven't seen it, advertised, it's the Pete Davidson movie, the firefighters, and et cetera and so forth. I'm going to give you the elevator reviews where I don't spoil anything. I just kind of give you an idea what the movie's about and try to tell you in a short period of time, like if we were on an elevator together and you asked me about it, and you want to kind of know whether or not you should watch it, I'll give you that review up front, and then I'll get more detailed after the break. So just jumping straight in. King of Staten Island. If you don't like Pete Davidson and his humor, you're not going to like this movie. He has a very dry and dark and childish sense of humor, which is very present in his character and his character's friends. But if you can at least tolerate his comedy, it's a pretty solid movie. It's not as predictable as I expected it to be based on the trailers. Has some really funny moments, and also has some nice, touching, and very real and human moments as well. Overall, I thought it was okay. I can't give it my stamp. Like, yes, go watch it for sure. But again, if you like Pete Davidson, definitely you'll probably enjoy it. If you can tolerate Pete Davidson, there's a chance you might, not necessarily hate the experience completely. But if you do not like Pete Davidson, don't watch the movie. That's as simple as I can make it. If you don't know who Pete Davidson is, go watch a clip or something of his comedy before you hit play on this movie. Moving on. 1BR, and the promotional team behind the movie actually followed me on Twitter a while back, and I can't remember why we interacted, but we spoke about the movie. They were promoting it while it was still just a video on demand option, but it did arrive on Netflix this week, and quickly shot up to the number 1 spot on Netflix. It's getting a lot of good press, a lot of good publicity. It's a horror movie, which, that's always a good movie night watch with the family or with whomever at home. So what's it about? For me, it gave me very strong like the show You vibes early on. It's a girl who, hold on, I'll get into that later. Elevator review. So 1BR, you've seen it on your queue. You see people talking about it. Will you like it? So again, it starts out with very strong You vibes. Girl moving into an apartment. Very friendly neighbors. But it quickly shifts into like a captive cult type movie where she's gotten herself into something and she needs to figure out how to get out. So I also felt some Midsummer vibes as well, where again you're in this captive situation and you're trying to figure out how to get out, or do you just accept it basically. It keeps you guessing as to what's coming next or what's going to happen, and then there are some twists during and then at the end of the movie that make it really interesting. It's actually, so one of the toughest things to me with horror movies is figuring out how to end it, and I actually did like the ending for this one, so definitely something it has going for it. Very solid movie. And then finally, the big one, New Mutants. And if you follow the podcast, if you follow me, I've been talking mad trash about how when movie theaters open, I'm not going for a month, etc. and so forth. But with the way my weekend went, I needed to do something to feel good. I was in a very YOLO feeling when I woke up this morning. And so I said, when I do go back, I'm going to go to the earliest showing of any movie. So I did that. I went to, I think they had a 1:30 showing in the theater. I saw that there were only like 2 other seats taken. So, I felt okay about going, and I did. I sat in the back. No one was near me. Couldn't see or hear anybody else during the movie. So, I'm not trying to justify breaking my rule, but overall, I felt comfortable. Sat in the theater with my jeans and my hoodie and my mask on the entire time. Different experience for sure. Quiet theater, but it usually is for matinees anyway. But I went to see New Mutants, and I'm not a person that had watched any of the X-Men movies, honestly. I saw like parts of them on TV and stuff like that, but I the only one I actually watched on purpose was Logan. And then, that wasn't technically part of the whole series, if you will. The other one that I watched was, and then Deadpool, if you want to count Deadpool as part of that side of the superhero sphere. But other than that, I didn't really watch any of the Fox X-Men movies. And but with everything that this one went through, and just liking most of the young cast, I felt the need to get out there and support it as well. I was planning to do it in a few weeks, but like I said, after the weekend and after the week I had, I said, you know what, I'm just going to go for it. And it is what it is. But anyway, all of that aside, elevator review. So the New Mutants introduces some smaller, maybe more unknown X-Men characters. I think that you, one, have to have some type of tie to the characters, or know some of the characters, or enjoy superhero movies to some degree on its own to like this movie. It tried to be a bit grounded in a sense, to where they made them more human, and it's dealing more with their human aspects than their abilities. They didn't focus on their names and stuff like that, basically. To enjoy it, though, you have to look at it as a horror movie as well. So you can't be looking at it as just your run-of-the-mill superhero origin story type movie. It is a horror movie. So basically, it takes place completely in this little hospital in a secluded area. You got the one doctor and the 5 kids in there. You get backstories for the characters in one way or another. The action is good, in my opinion. The story is also pretty good. If you think about it, there's like a new girl coming in, and she's kind of getting the lay of the land, trying to figure out what's going on here. And like while that's happening, weird stuff starts happening within the hospital. You start to question the doctor. Like, is the doctor really there to help them control their powers, or is she doing something else? And then it gets very intense by the end, and there's like a big fight. It actually ended somewhat underwhelmingly with that big fight. Like, the way it ended, I wasn't a huge fan of. But other than that, the reviews make this movie out to be really horrible. I didn't think it was as bad as the reviews made it out to be. It wasn't amazing, didn't blow me away in any way. And I may be a little biased because I like some of the actors and characters, but I thought it was okay. I didn't hate it. So that's that on that. We'll get a bit deeper into all those movies after the break. Didn't want to make this long, so we'll get into that later. All right, so getting into the real reviews. First movie was The King of Staten Island. It is a dramedy, drama/comedy. The main cast that you may know is going to be Pete Davidson, Marissa Tomei plays Pete Davidson's mother, and then Bill Burr plays a guy that comes along who his mother starts a relationship with. So basically, summary of the movie or synopsis, what have you. Pete Davidson's character is a young man in his early 20s who is a stoner, kind of throwing his life away, not really doing anything with his life. He has a little sister who's basically perfect, and she's about to go off to college. They lost their father when they were very young, and Pete, basically, his character has never really recovered from it, and basically kind of leans on it as a crutch and an excuse as to why he's never done anything with his life. However, over the course of the movie, things happen that make him reevaluate some things, and the movie doesn't end on like a perfect note, but you see some change in the character, basically. So as far as the comedy, if you are familiar with Bill Burr or Pete Davidson, they were pretty much themselves as far as the comedy goes. Like Pete Davidson's dark, dry, nasty humor was very prevalent. And then Bill Burr being more sarcastic and very Boston sounding was very much there. A lot of it wasn't. I like Bill Burr. I'm kind of on Pete Davidson, but a lot of the humor was like too much, too goofy for me. And but then some of it was okay. It was tolerable. And if I had to sell this movie, I definitely wouldn't sell it on the humor. I'll put it that way. Then you have the very real and human elements, and that's where the movie kind of levels out and becomes okay for me. Kind of understanding where Pete Davidson's character is coming from with you kind of get the sense over the course of the film that his dad was viewed as this hero, this perfect character, and he kind of feels like he can't live up to that, and that he missed having that in his life. I think his dad was like 7 or so when he passed or something like that. But again, you get the sense that he's a young man trying to figure out his way in the world. He has dreams, he just doesn't know where to start, basically. And then when this guy comes along, Bill Burr's character starts talking to his mom, and then he feels the pressure of having a male around and kind of competing with that male figure. At the same time, you see him take a very quick paternal role with Bill Burr's kids. So he starts walking them to school, and you can see like he cares about the kids, and he cracks some inappropriate jokes with them, but he also like asks them about their day and their interests and things like that, and like he talks to them, and you can see that he's not all bad, basically. Later in the film, he and his mom get into it. He gets kicked out, and he kind of starts hanging around Bill Burr's character at the firehouse that he works at. And at this firehouse, he kind of starts talking to the firemen. He gets a better understanding of what it was that his father did. I don't even know if I pointed out that his father was supposed to be a firefighter who passed. If you watch the trailer, you know that, but I should probably make that clear. So his father was a firefighter who passed. He blamed the job, and he blamed his father for having the job, and so he hated firemen. But he starts hanging out with these firemen. He talks to them. He listens to them. He understands where they're coming from more after listening to them. And then they tell him stories about his dad being imperfect. Like, basically, his dad sounds a lot like him almost. But he was brave also. And his bravery ended up being what cost him his life, really, in the end. So he basically gets to see his dad in a different light, and it changes his way of looking at himself, basically. Like, yeah, my dad wasn't this saint, basically, and I don't have to live up to being a saint, but at the very least, I can be a better person to other people while I'm doing this. And by the end of the movie, that's kind of where you get with him, is that he kind of changes his ways. And again, you don't get this perfect thing. I thought, based on the previews, that he was going to end up being a firefighter, but that's not the way the movie goes. So I've said a lot, but I haven't given you everything. It did have some touching movies, especially by the end, and you kind of have a ray of hope for Pete Davidson's character by the end of the movie. Moving on, 1BR. So 1BR doesn't really have any notable cast members. It's kind of the beauty of horror movies is that you don't really need big names. So again, it starts out from a horror standpoint as a movie about a person moving into a new place, very common. And at first, she sneaks her cat in. They've been very clear about no pets. And there's like a weird rattling noise with the pipes. But, she's a girl who moved out to LA to pursue her dreams. And, she's willing to put up with a little bit of difficulty. She's got a job at a temp agency where she's overworked and underpaid type of thing. But again, she's doing what she has to do to chase the dream that she came out to LA to chase. The neighbors are way too friendly at first, so you already get the idea that something's wrong. There's one neighbor who comes off as creepy, but you feel like almost immediately there's something else going on there with the creepy neighbor, because it's way too obvious. You know what I mean? But then when things start spiraling, and without trying to spoil too much, like she wakes up and there's like a person in her house one night. Doesn't go exactly how you maybe expected it with that. And then she becomes a captive, basically. So the majority in the middle of the film is her basically being tortured until she submits. And then it's basically her trying to figure out how to get out of this place that she's been being held in. And that's really the rest of the movie, like her trying to understand who she's dealing with, what she's dealing with, and how she can get out. There's no supernatural elements or anything like that. It's all regular, hostage, captive. There's cult elements. Like I said in the cold open, it had some Midsummer vibes to it, where the people don't act creepy necessarily. They're regular people, but they've all accepted this way of living, and they want her to, basically. There's some pretty bloody moments. Nothing too crazy in my opinion, even though it says gory in the description. It wasn't too bad. I've definitely seen worse, I should say. There's some interesting twists at the end of the movie as well that make it exciting, going towards the end. And especially at the very end, there's a nice, beautiful payoff with something. But again, this was a horror movie with an ending that I actually liked, because it didn't they didn't commit to one thing necessarily. They just kind of give you an idea what's about to happen, and then you just kind of have to fill in the blanks for yourself, whichever way you want. Personally, again, I enjoyed the way it ended. But overall, the acting was pretty good. No complaints about the acting. The pace was great. It gives you 3 different phases of the movie, so there's no wasted time. You get the moving in, creepy area, trying to figure things out part. Then you get the captivity part, and then you get the trying to figure out how to manipulate and escape part. So again, if you like horror movies, definitely check out 1BR on Netflix. I have no complaints about that movie. And then finally, New Mutants. So this was the movie I wasn't supposed to see yet, but I did. Main cast, some real names out here. Maisie Williams from Game of Thrones, my girl Arya. Anya Taylor-Joy from Split and this year's movie Emma, which I still need to see. Or Anya Taylor-Joy, I don't even know if I said her name right the first time. Charlie Heaton from Stranger Things is in this movie. Alice Braga from Queen of the South, she plays the doctor here. Henry Zaga, who I personally am not familiar with, but he's in the Netflix series 13 Reasons. And in the new series, it's actually, I think, in the top 10 right now, Trinkets. And then Blue Hunt she's been in the originals, another newcomer onto the scene who I'm not familiar with. That's your main cast. They play the Marvel characters. Anya Taylor-Joy plays Magic. Henry Zaga plays Sunspot. Charlie Heaton plays Cannonball. Maisie Williams plays Rain Sinclair. And then Blue Hunt plays Danielle Moonstar. The only characters I personally have been familiar with are Magic and Sunspot, and that's primarily from playing the game Marvel Contest of Champions. But knowing those characters made them more exciting for me. I don't know how much I would have enjoyed the movie if I didn't know anything about any of these characters, which I believe is key to knowing whether or not you're going to enjoy this movie as well. If you just like the X-Men or whatever, you don't necessarily need to know the characters, but it'll add to it if you care about the characters, or if you care about X-Men or Mutants or Marvel or whatever the case may be. The presentation of the powers was pretty cool. Magic on screen was great. Every time they showed her effects, awesome. When they showed Limbo, stuff like that. Sunspot was pretty raw. Again, I'm only familiar with him from the game, Marvel Contest of Champions. So his powers looked more like he didn't have as much control over them as maybe he will at some point as he develops. But again, dope character. Interesting how they introduce him. I enjoyed that the movie didn't really lean into the character names. I feel like that could have made it very goofy. They focused on their regular names for the most part. The only one that they really say as far as like the name that you usually go by that's not your regular name was Magic. But they only did that in like a sideways way. Like I think she's fighting someone and they say, "Be careful, he's Magic," or something like that. And she turns around and she says, "So am I," and like jumps in. And so if you know who the character is, then you know that that's her name. But if you don't, then it doesn't come off like she's saying her name type of thing. So basically the story, I missed the first like 5 minutes or so. I don't know how much I missed. Didn't seem like it was much because when I came into the theater, Blue Hunt's character, Danielle Moonstar, is coming in to the building, and she's being introduced to the rest of the characters by the doctor. So like the doctor's like, "We have a new patient, here she is," type of thing. And so basically they're in what's supposed to be a hospital in a very desolate, secluded area. They've been told there's not another town for 20 miles. And they're all young mutants who are there to learn how to control their powers, allegedly. And so the doctor is observing them, trying to study them to figure out what their powers are, what they can do, and then how they can try to control them. They're stuck in a dome that she has put up with her own abilities, the doctor's abilities to create like force fields around objects, basically. So the things that I didn't like about the movie, I'll get that out of the way. Magic is like your typical mean girl. And because she has to do like a Russian accent, sometimes it kind of comes off as goofy to me. I get why her character being like that was necessary, and I get her character's personality is different. But I just didn't necessarily enjoy her character. Sunspot was cool, which he's supposed to be. He's rich kid, but he was almost too cool. I did enjoy later in the film as they start to peel the layers back of like, he's putting up a bit of a front, basically. Like he's cool because he's supposed to be cool. Like he's putting on a show. And I did enjoy his character later in the film once they peeled those layers back. Cannonball is Charlie Heaton's character, who, again, he's typecast as like the timid high schooler type of guy. He was a country boy in this one from Kentucky. And so his character is likable pretty early on and continues to be likable throughout the movie. Rain, played by Maisie Williams, also likable. She's adorable, first of all. Her power was kind of weird, being able to turn into a wolf. It wasn't that cinematic, if you will. It's cool, sort of, when you see her transform partially and stuff like that, but even Magic makes fun of her power in the movies. But again, she's adorable. You care about her. You like her. And then Danielle's character was very Disney. If you stuck her in a Disney movie, a Disney Channel show, she would fit. She was way too soft for me and hard to believe as being tough when she was trying to pretend to be tough. That was slightly an issue, but with the movie though, overall, given everything that they went through with this movie to get it out, 2 years delayed, all that good stuff, it wasn't as bad as it could have been. I thought they built well to the climax. There was some fun in the middle of the movie. The kids all seemed pretty cool. I would want to see them again. I didn't hate the characters, even Magic. By the end, I was cared to see them again and where they were going. The only thing I didn't like about the ending was they're facing this ultimate threat, and the way they get rid of the threat again felt very Disney movie-ish. I just watched the Disney movie the other day, and I'm not proud of this, the Upside Down Magic movie, where they tried to have abilities and deal with a threat also. But it's a Disney movie for small kids, not even teens or preteens. And so, it was a goofy ending to where there wasn't any, real fight contact. It was a talk the monster down situation. And that's kind of what happened here, where, you get the action sequences, but then the way it's resolved is very soft and vanilla. And I just think that, I don't know if it's the actress or the character or how they did it, just wasn't as powerful as it could have been, in my opinion. And so if I had to give it a star rating on the top, the way it ended, maybe it took it from a 3.5 to a 3 on a rating scale. So with that said, I wouldn't be opposed to seeing these characters again. We probably won't with Marvel buying Fox. It's probably the end of the road for them, and I kind of feel sorry for all the actors, but they got their checks at the end of the day, and they all have other things going for them, so I'm not gonna feel too bad for them. But that's pretty much it. Those are the 3 movies I saw this week. Obviously, nothing too crazy to write home about. If I had to rank them, 1BR would be the one that would get my highest recommendation. Then New Mutants, if you like superhero movies, if you're familiar with the X-Men. And then King of Staten Island would be above New Mutants if you are a Pete Davidson fan. And then it would be third if you're not a Pete Davidson fan, and by far. Because if you don't like Pete Davidson, once again, you are not going to like that movie. I'm actually coming up on 20 minutes with this last section, so I'm going to wrap this up. This week is actually a huge week for movies. Tenet hits theaters this week, and I don't know if I'm going to be that brave again this weekend. We'll see. Mulan is arriving on Disney Plus this week. I don't think I have much interest in seeing that. And then I'm thinking of Ending Things is going to be arriving on Netflix, which I have heard great things about. So we'll see. I'll probably end up watching that. So again, Tenet, Mulan, I'm thinking of Ending Things coming out this weekend. Mark your calendars if you've been waiting for those movies. And we'll see what I end up watching this week. And I'll catch you guys next week. Peace.